We're joined right here on the top of our third and final hour, right here on NBC Sports, NBCSN, along with SiriusXM 211, our YouTube feed, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show, a guy I'm thrilled to be calling a good friend of mine, not just mine, but my wife's as well. He's Basketball Hall of Famer, one of the all-time best. He's Charles Barkley. How are you, Charles?
I'm doing good, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. I knew, that Last Dance last night would center around you and your basketball cross-section with Jordan at some point in time. What's it like to, we had John Elway on last week, and he said he was watching, The Drive. He was watching himself as the quarterback of The Drive with all these flashbacks. What's it like for you to watch yourself play from back in the day, Charles?
Well, just bring back. Well, that wasn't a great memory, but it brings back great memories.
Right.
I'm almost 60 now, so we're talking really basically almost 30 years ago. So I've been blessed, but it brings back great memories, especially looking at the Dream Team stuff. That was just so awesome. It was just so awesome reliving the Dream Team stuff. Losing the finals still sucks to this day.
Right.
But, man, being on that Dream Team was just so awesome. I'll never forget it.
All right, so let's get into that because I don't know how much of what you gave to the Last Dance folks made it on the air. When you saw the recollection of that Monte Carlo practice where Jordan took things over, what's your memory of that moment, Charles?
Well, I think there was obviously an exaggeration. Because we had so many great players. Everybody had a bunch of great moments.
Sure.
But I was just saying, the thing that was amazing to me, that was the most intense thing that I've ever been through every day. Obviously, Michael was the best player. But, at that time, you had me and Karl Malone trying to prove who was the best power forward, and we were trying to kill each other every day. You had David Robinson and Patrick Ewing, who were the two best centers in the league, trying to kill each other. You had Michael, they talked about Michael and Clyde Drexler hated each other. They were trying to kill each other. And then if you remember, Magic had been shut down by Scottie in the finals. So he was trying to go at Scottie. So it was a bunch of egos. It was awesome. But we were all just trying to prove we were the best at our position. That's what made it so intense. It wasn't just like one great practice. It was like that every single day.
How did Daly stir that up? Did he stir that up as the coach?
No. Listen, I knew Karl Malone was the only person on my level as far as the power forward. David and Patrick were the two best centers, and like I said, Chuck was awesome because Chuck kind of like, hey, you guys do y'all thing.
Yeah.
He was the perfect coach, because he had no ego. He always he was a hell of a coach. He always was going to be the best-dressed coach unless Pat Riley was in the same building with him.
Right.
And he was at peace with himself. The one thing that Chuck did that, when people have debated for 100 years, we played against those little college kids the first day, and those kids were 18 years old. We were all around 30, in our early 30s, if I remember correctly. And they brought these little high school teenagers and college freshmen in there, and they were playing like it was Game 7. We were just screwing around. And before we know it, we were down like double digits. And then we called a timeout, and Chuck says, get them. And we started killing them. And then he calls off the practice with them leading. And then so it's that infamous, the college players beat us that one day. They kind of beat us, but Chuck just wanted to get in our head a little bit.
So how did you all handle that when you said he's just trying to
after that we just stomped them every day, and we didn't take no more chances after that first day. We just stomped them every day from that point forward. Because I've seen Grant Hill and C. Webb and all those guys talk about. They only talk about the first day when they technically won, but after that, we didn't take any more chances. Let them get in the upper hand.
Who else is on that college team? Do you remember?
I can't remember, but there's probably every player probably played in the NBA. It was so long ago, I can't remember everybody. I think Bobby Hurley was there. Obviously, Grant Hill, Rodney Rogers. It was. I think, like I say, everybody on that team eventually made it to the NBA.
Right.
But they were all like high school seniors and college freshmen at that time.
Charles Barkley here on the Rich Eisen Show. A couple more Dream Team questions, I guess. The whole conversation about why Isaiah wasn't on the team, watching this all back right now, is this an accurate portrayal of why he wasn't on the team, Charles?
Not at all. I'm so glad you asked me that, Rich, because, like I say, I don't have. When I was called for the Dream Team, Isaiah's name never came up ever. And I mean, at that time, me and Michael are great friends. Michael never mentioned blackballing Isaiah. Isaiah Thomas probably should have been on the team, but I can honestly tell you, Rich, never came up in conversation with Rod Thorne or Chuck Daly. I have no idea why he was left off the team. And like I say, Michael never mentioned to me that he did not want Isaiah on the team. And I can say I have no honest answer why Isaiah was not on the team, but I can honestly say the NBA, I guess the NBA, never asked us anything about any player, number one, let alone Isaiah Thomas. Like, I didn't know Magic and Bird and Stockton and Carl and David. They never asked. When they called, they said, Charles, would you like to be part of the Dream Team? And I said, it would be an honor and a privilege to go to the Olympics and represent the United States. They never even mentioned another player until they called me. They called me that one time. They had me, Magic, and Michael and Larry go take that photo shoot. Mm-hmm. But we all were on the cover. But we had no idea who was on the team until we got to San Diego, I think, for the first practice.
Well, I mean, last night, Jordan's recounting of it was Rod Thorne calling him up and saying, you want to be on the team? And he said, well, who else is playing? And then his recollection is Thorne said, the guy that you're thinking of is not coming. So clearly this had to have been thought out by somebody about Isaiah,
like I say,
right?
I'm saying I had nothing to – that was – so Rod called me. I was playing for the Sixers, obviously.
Yep.
I was actually on the golf course, and he said, "Hey," and I said, "Oh, that's where what's up?" He said, "You want to be on the Dream Team?" I said, "It'd be an honor and a privilege." That was the end of the conversation. I'm just telling you, I don't know what him and Michael talked about, but I'm telling you, at that time, me and Michael were great friends. He never said to me, Charles, if they asked you about Isaiah, that never happened. So I've heard all the rumors for 30 years now, but I don't know what Rod and Michael talked about. So that's my honest opinion, Rich.
Charles Barkley here on the Rich Eisen Show last night, too, talking about Jordan being a Nike guy and how he came to be and how influential. I'll give you the floor here, certainly since, if I'm not mistaken, you're a Nike guy, too. How influential was Michael on all of that, Charles?
Well, he's the most important sports figure as far as athletes make, not only just the guys today that are making gazillion dollars for shoes and things like that. Rich, you have to go back. Athletes didn't even do commercials before Michael Jordan. Think about that. Between commercials and now everybody got their signature shoe and they're making tens of millions of dollars. That's all because of Michael. Listen, we can all talk about how great, and I mean, obviously, in my opinion, no disrespect to Kobe or LeBron or Kareem or Bill Russell or Wilt, he's the greatest basketball player ever. But what his biggest influence is guys was making all this money away from basketball. I mean, you think about it. Guys did not do commercials before Michael Jordan. Guys didn't have signature shoes and sell, like, that's all because of Michael. That, to me, as great a basketball player as he was, his influence away from the game. Like, you know, people give him a hard time for not being a social activist, which I think is disingenuous because Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, no guys were making social statements back in that day. I mean, yeah, obviously now with Twitter and stuff, guys all can say what they want to now. But if you go back in time in the 80s, nobody was making social statements. But what he did for the shoe business and the apparel business, that's probably his greatest contribution to the sports.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the social activism, that was quite a moving portion of The Last Dance last night, Charles, when President Obama was talking about how, I mean, he chose his words as Obama obviously always would, and so beautifully, that he was disappointed that Michael didn't make political statements. And I'm wondering how that was probably going to sit with Michael when he saw that?
Well, I think it's a different time now, Rich. To be honest with you, yeah, I think we all make social statements now, but you have to go back. You have to tell at the time. Like I say, as much as I love Magic, he wasn't making political statements. Karl Malone wasn't making political statements. I don't know who was the best black quarterback and guys like that. I think that's unfair. Like now, I think guys, because of social media, you could be a little bit more progressive and say what you want to, but also it's a double-edged sword. People only want you to say political stuff when they agree with you. Can you imagine if some of these guys came out today and they start wearing Trump hats around? People would absolutely lose their mind. So people want you to be socially active, but they only want you to be active if they agree with your point. And I think that's the double-edged sword for all jocks today when they try to get political. Like, remember a few months ago when LeBron tried to say something about China?
Mm-hmm.
People went crazy. And LeBron's one of the best dudes you ever going to meet. But when he didn't go crazy over this China stuff, he got lambasted. And I thought that was unfair. I thought that was unfair to him because LeBron's one of the best men you ever going to meet. But so it's a double-edged sword. Everybody wants you to be political, but they only want you to be political when they agree with you.
A couple more minutes left with the one and only Charles Barkley here on the Rich Eisen Show, and I greatly appreciate it, Charles. I know you've been talking a lot about this Last Dance, and I appreciate you taking the time. Have you learned anything from this? Like, were you sitting there, I didn't know that, or one of your colleagues from back in the day, one of your fellow players from back in the day revealed something? Well, I didn't know that. Have you had any of those moments through the first few hours?
Well, I think that I would love for today's player, going back to episode 1 where he told Roy Williams, I'm going to be the hardest working player ever. And in episode 2 when he broke his foot and he wanted to just play basketball, I don't care, I just want to play. If all these young players today would realize that you can have all the Twitter followers you want, you can worry about your brand and stuff like that, the only thing that really matters is being the best basketball player. All that other stuff will come. But I think that we have too many players today who they just worry about their brand and how many Twitter followers. So like, no. I just want to be – that's the thing I got from episode 1 and 2. But I think the thing that's really funny, and it kind of makes me sad to a certain degree, people are going to learn all the dysfunction that goes on in organizations. People want sports to be like this. It's all great. Everybody gets along. Everybody's making a lot of money, and everybody's happy. And if you see what the Bulls – Rich, think about this. Those guys won 6 championships, and they hated each other. and, like, can you imagine how bad some of the stuff is on these teams that suck in sports? Like, this team won. They three-peated twice. Mm. And they don't get along. The front office and the owners, they hate each other, and they're winning. And I hate that people are going to see a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Because, you hear players talk about all the time, whatever happens in the locker room stays in the locker room. And that's the one thing about this documentary is like, nah, it's some really bad stuff be going on in the locker room, but you guys don't really want to know that. Y'all want to see us play basketball and football. Y'all don't want to know all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. That's probably the one thing that disappoints me the most about the documentary.
Well, I mean, and based on the first couple episodes, Draymond coming out and saying KD should have told us from the very beginning he was leaving, and then bringing up, I guess, tying it all together from one generation to the next. Did you agree with that statement?
Draymond was 100% wrong. I mean, think about this. LeBron, just play, man, and shut the hell up, because LeBron's actually done that. He didn't tell him what was going on in Cleveland. He told him after the season.
Right.
Same thing in Miami. And then again, he did it again in Cleveland. So KD didn't owe them anything. They just got, he said that was the elephant in the room. They just got beat. There was no elephant in the room. They just got beat. And they probably got beat because of injuries and fairness. Because if KD is healthy and Clay is healthy, they probably win again. But listen, guys, now they become free agents and they make their decision after the season's over.
Yeah, I've just this whole documentary has just been bringing up stuff from current and the past and all that stuff. And the thing that really hit me before I let you go last night was Jordan remembering the final before he took you guys on, the one against the Blazers. He's only got one trophy in the case, right? He's going for back-to-back, and he's saying that he took offense to the comparisons that people put Drexler on his level, that he called it irritating. And I saw that, I'm like, wow, like that's not a normal reaction you would think from people unless they're at an all-time great level. Charles,
Well, obviously, Michael takes everything personally, and that's probably the biggest understatement in the history of civilization, that Michael takes things personally. Listen, him and that you're asking me about the dream team. That was interesting to watch in practice. Like I say, I was trying to kill Karl Malone because I want to be the best power forward. But him and Clyde went at it. It was so intense. The games were easy. But every single day at practice, like I said, Magic said it before, I've never seen basketball played at that level. And I think Michael was mad because Clyde wanted two things. Like, listen, Clyde was a hell of a player, but he wanted to think he was as good as Michael, and that drove Michael crazy. It really drove him crazy.
Well, it seems that what really drove him crazy was all the gambling talk too, Charles, right? From back in the day.
Well, listen, I'm probably not in a place of I got dirty hands. I love to gamble. Can't wait to get back to the casino. Michael loved to gamble. I thought it was unfair to try to act like he likes to gamble. I love to gamble. Do I think I have a gambling problem? I don't think I do, just because I love to gamble. And like I say, Michael loves to gamble. And to act like a guy who loves to do something has a problem, I just don't think that's fair. I mean, I always tell people, I've never been to a casino and it was totally empty. There's always been other people in there. So other people like to gamble also.
I love you, Charles. I really do. I don't care who knows it. It's been too long. I always enjoy our chats, truly. Thank you.
Man, keep up the great work.
Thank you.
I hope you get some sports soon.
Me too.
I mean, this has just been I feel bad for everybody out there who's sick, and thank God for the first responders and nurses and doctors, but I'm hoping you get some sports soon, man.
Me too. In the meantime, good luck trying to win that Emmy with Belichick in your group for the first time. The studio analyst, you got Bill now to deal with on that front.
I love Bill Belichick. He's getting greedy trying to come over, cross over in sports, taking other people's trophies now. This is getting out of hand, Rich. This is getting out of hand.
I know.
And he got enough Lombardi trophies. He want to come get our Emmys now.
That's a fact, by the way. You're not wrong. That is an appropriate reaction. Thanks for the time, Charles. You take care of yourself.
All right, man. Thanks
Stay
for
healthy.
having me.
Love you. That's Charles Barkley.